So today the emphasis is on the y-intercept, and so you got to know this saying. The y-intercept is where x is 0, and the x-intercept is where y is 0. So if I want the y-intercept, just put in a 0 and a 0. What's the answer? Take a second, solve this one. What's the y-intercept? I already said x equal to 0. From there, isn't it pretty easy? -2, that's times 3. I hope you can do that. Y equals -6. Now, one flaw. When you list this on the test, it has to be a point. Y equals -6 is not a point. The y-intercept is where x is 0, so it would have to be 0, -6. Do you get that? The -6 part's easy. You just stick in 0 and it comes out to y is -6. Just don't forget it has to be on a point. So if we were to graph this one, that's where it would touch the y. Where would it touch the x? At 2 and -3. Let's talk about that. Y equals x minus 2, x plus 3. And this time, I'm finding the x-intercept. So I set what? Yes, y equals 0. Yeah, this has to be 0. So then I don't make kids write this, but it's true. It's just x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0. I don't make kids write that. I'm okay with them just jumping to x equals 2 and x equals -3. That's how you find the x-intercepts. You set y equal to 0. Do you get how they kind of go together? X-intercepts, that's where y is 0. Y-intercepts, that's where x is 0. All right, so we already did that one a second ago. If I wanted the y-intercept, I'd set x equal to 0, and I'd get -6. I just got to remember that that's a point. The y-intercept is 0, -6, and my x-intercepts are at 2 and 3. Which are points. The x-intercept is 2, 0. The y-intercept, the other x-intercept is -3, 0. There. Now that's all listing them as points. I'd rather see it as a graph. So here's what the graph looks like. I'm going to touch 2, 0, boom, right there. -3, 0, boom, right there. And it's going to touch -6 for the y-intercept down there. And then, wait, I broke my law. My law is you always start by finding the lead term, which in this case is x squared. It was this and this. And then that tells me the beginning and the end of the story. Since it's positive, it's going up on the right. And since it's even, it's going up on both ends. And now if you can't figure out how to draw this, I don't know how to help you. Like, it's pretty obvious at that point. It has to go through all the dots. It has to be going up on both ends. That makes sense to you? So the key here was the y-intercept. That's the only thing that's different from yesterday. The y-intercept was at -6. This was at -3 here, and this is 2, so that's 2 there. Now I got to teach you one more thing, only because today's is like so easy, and tomorrow's is kind of hard, and I want to pre-teach you a little bit of tomorrow's stuff. But otherwise, seriously, if you were to just go to your homework, that's it. Find the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0. So let's do one problem that's like today's homework. Ready? Y equals x minus 4, x plus 8, and x minus 1. If you were going to graph it, I said always find the lead term first. Do it. Find lead term. Oh, wait, important. I'm going to throw in a negative right there because they were going to do that on the test, and so many kids are going to forget that negative. Put the negative in there. Now find the lead term. Lead terms look like, -2x to the 4th or whatever. That's not right for this, but, figure out what the lead term is. I've corrected a lot of tests on this. I'm telling you, the kids that take a second and write out the lead term, they do way better than the other kids. So to get that lead term, you include this and this and this and this. And these are all to the power of 1, so that you just can kind of like add up the 3 x's, and it's x to the third. Don't forget the negative. Negative x to the third. Raise your hand if you had the right lead term. Good. Okay. Question? No, okay. Okay. So then if there's a negative in the front, I know it's going down. All right, now, the problem is if I just do the rest of this, you're going to drift off into la-la land. You need to do this one. You can tell what the x-intercepts are. You can tell what the y-intercept is. You know, the y-intercept is x is 0, and the x-intercept's where y is 0. Take a second, figure out where these dots are, and where this dot here, you know, where is it? You can use a calculator if you want, but find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. And at least you know that the right end's going down and the left end's going up. If you can find the x and y intercepts, that's the only thing for today. Then I'll teach you a little bit tomorrow. Josie absent. Turns out she's got to pass later. We can get it fixed. All right, here we go. The y-intercept. Bennett, what's that saying I keep saying? The y-intercept is where what? Good. So I'm going to put a 0 here, and here, and here. And then I just multiply all this out. Don't forget the negative. There's a negative in the front here. This is a negative 4, and this is a positive 8 and a negative 1. There's a whole bunch of negatives. I could easily see somebody messing that up. Did you get negative 32? That's what you should have got. If you didn't get negative 32, you forgot one of your negatives. There was one negative here, 2 negatives for that one. This is a third negative. There's 3 negatives. That makes the answer negative. And 8 times 4 times 1, 32. Negative 32. So down here somewhere, we just put a spot and we call it negative 32. That's the hard thing for today. It's just the y-intercept. We did these x-intercepts yesterday, like negative 8 for this one. It's what makes it equal 0. Positive 1 for that one. And positive 4 for that one. There's all the clues to the puzzle. It has to go through the 3 red dots, and the black dot has to be going down on the right and up on the left. Can you put it all together? Now, if you're like, but Mr. Server, why was it negative 32? Yeah, I don't get that. I got positive 32. If you've got that kind of question, you should ask. And what I found is if you have that question, somebody else probably does too, and they're afraid to ask. Is there any part of this that you don't get? Like, I don't get how this was negative or whatever. All right, then, complete by drawing the line through the dots, including the black dot there, and compare yours with the person next to you. If you're just sitting there doing something else, you need to pull out of that before I have to come and yell at you. That problem, compare it to the kid next to you. These 2 rows, straight across. For today, teach me how to listen to make it easier for you to compare. Okay, you guys ready to compare? Foda, talk to the kid next to you. All right, it goes through here, it goes through here, goes through there, and it goes up there. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, cool. Person who was not paying attention, I know who you are. Get back to work so I don't have to yell at you personally. Here we go. Ready? Yes.
I have some question.
Yes, question.
How is it negative 32?
Okay, how is it negative 32 down here? It's because 8 times 4 makes the 32 times a 1. Would you agree that 8 times 4 times a 1 makes 32?
Yep.
Then the question is, does it come out negative or not? Okay. There were 3 negatives. 1 here, 1 there, and 1 in the front. So that makes it negative 32. Good question. Anything else like doesn't make sense to you? Yes.
Why doesn't the negative distribute to the negative 4?
It does, and that will make it positive 4. See how these two negatives will cancel each other out? And then there's still this negative left at the end, which makes it negative. So even if you want to think of it that way, these two negatives can cancel each other out, but when you take out 2 of the negatives, there's still 1 left, and it comes out negative. All right. Okay, so one more. Act like it's the test. Take this very seriously. Ready? Y equals negative 2x minus 3. I know, that's different, but we follow the same exact rules. And an x plus 7. And I want you to figure out the whole graph. And you better start with the lead term or you're not paying attention. I know some people are going to be like, but what about this? Just set it equal to 0. To figure out the x-intercept there, set it equals 0 and solve it. And for the y-intercept, you set x equals 0. For the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0. All right. This is not easy. Try. I know you're not all done yet, but I'm going to at least tell you this. Did you figure out that it was negative 2x squared? That's called the lead term. It's super huge. You need to figure that out on every problem because it tells you the right end is going down because of the negative here. And that since it's a squared, an even number, they're both going the same way. Then a small child can figure out that it's negative 7. But the harder one is this x-intercept. And I told you, you should just write it negative 2x minus 3 equals 0. That is a little 2-step equation that you can solve. If you're in Algebra 2, you should be able to set this thing equal to 0 and solve it. If you never got the memo on how to do those, it's been on 3 tests so far. You've got to learn how to do that. You set this part equal to 0. Because then the y will equal 0. If this part comes out to 0, the y equals 0, and you're finding the x-intercepts. Negative 2x equals 3. X equals 3 over negative 2, which I prefer to think of as negative 1.5. If you don't know you can divide those, you got a calculator for the test, right? You could take 3 divided by 2 and it would give you 1.5. So negative 1.5. All right. So my first answer that I just did in my head was right here. It really was saying x plus 7 equals 0. Solve it. So x equals negative 7. That was for this one. And the other one we just did was negative 1.5. So I'm going to realize I don't want to have that arrow over there. Negative 1.5 is like right there. And it's going down on both ends. So I'm going to make the other end down right there. And then, ba-doop, ba-doop. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay. That's about as hard as they get.
That's one question.
Yes.
Do we need to incorporate the y?
Oh, good question. If the problem says, which on today's they often do, what's the y-intercept? I never did say that this time. So yeah, let's take a second and everybody figure out, do you get if I extend this down, eventually that red line would touch the x-axis? Somewhere way down here, it would eventually touch. Boop. Figure out the y-intercept. It's negative something. So, since you brought it up, Mr. Nichols, how do you find the y-intercept again?
What you first do is make x 0.
X 0. X is 0. And this cancels this out because 0 times 2, negative 2 is 0. So that's gone. And 0 plus 7 is 7. So 7 times negative 3 makes negative 21. Who had negative 21 before I even said it? Nice job. That's it for today. But I want to pre-teach you something because the part tomorrow is kind of hard. All right, so here's how tomorrow looks. It's different. They got an extra squared thrown in on top. What? It's really not that hard. It really isn't. But do one last problem with me and then we'll start the homework. So can you do one more 3-minute question? Please copy this down. The thing that's not new is you need the lead term. Everybody put it right there. Figure out the lead term. Hint, the squared matters.
Oh yeah, I was what was the last
Nope, we're not changing topics. It's all right. You can ask me when the work time. It'll just confuse people up to shift gears to something different now. All right, so the lead term on this one uses this x and this x, but it is not x squared because this x is already squared and we put it with this, which is x to the 1. That makes a total of x to the third. Raise your hand if you knew that, x to the third. Awesome. Then we know that this graph has to be going, well, it's positive in front here, so it's going up on the right. And since it's odd, the degree here is odd, that means it's going down on this side. And from there, it's pretty easy. Negative 4 makes this part 0. Negative 4. It's there. And positive 3 and now this is the part that you've never seen before. Because you might be like, well, I'd have to go like this, and then I'd have to go like that, and it's not going the right direction. What the heck? That is confusing. Like, it doesn't work. You can't go through both of those points and have it go the right direction. So, pay attention. This is the thing. Since that got squared, this is like its own little mini parabola, sort of. You remember how squared things have like a U shape? It bounces at this spot, which was at negative 4. That's the x equals negative 4 spot, right? So that right there is called a bounce. So watch how my line looks. I go up here, I bounce off of it like a ball bouncing off a wall. And then I can go through the rest of them and it all makes sense. Going down on the left, up on the right. It's going through all my x-intercepts. The only thing was that instead of just passing through it right here, it bounced off of it. And that little squared we're going to often call a bounce. All right, now you know a little bit about tomorrow's kind of hard lesson, and that'll make tomorrow easier because some of you guys just understood that. The rest of you, I'll have to make sure you get it tomorrow. When this gets squared, it makes a bounce in the graph, and it raises the power by 1. So it's a degree of 3. All right, cool. So now let's start the homework. You're going to do problem 1 through 5, and then you skip number 6. Number 1, let's do together. I know it takes a second to get it downloaded, but everybody get the worksheet downloaded now. Cross off problem 6 when you get there. Would you read me number 1, please, Miss Music?
Y equals, in parentheses, x minus 2, in new parentheses, x plus 3, and then x plus 5.
Okay, cool. What is the thing that I kept saying over and over? How do you start these again? Lead term, good. Everybody find the lead term. In this case, would you use just x to the third? That tells you so many things. It tells you the degree. It tells you the lead coefficient is a 1. Since that 1 is positive, it's going up on the right. Since its a degree is odd, it's going down on the left. So you know like tons of stuff from that. You need to do that lead term. Okay, so put in your arrows for which way it ends. Since this is odd, it must end going different directions. Since that's positive, it's going up on the right. And if it's different directions, it must be down on the left. Cool. Then I have 3 dots. One for this, one for this, one for this. What makes this part 0 is x equals 2. What makes this part 0 is negative 3. What makes this part 0 if x was negative 5? So there's my 3 points. Are any of them bounces? No, that's not till tomorrow. So then we just want it to go up here, go through that, through that, through that. And Mr. Nichols, you're good at catching my mistakes. I on purpose made a mistake here. No, it's wrong. It's just a little thing.
You forgot the y-intercept.
Yes. It'll say right in the directions if you look. You have to have the y-intercept. When I'm grading your homework, I'm going to look for that. That's probably the key thing I'll look for, because tons of kids are going to forget to label that spot. So what the heck is it? The y-intercept is where x is 0, 0, 0. See? So it's negative 2 times 3 times 5. That's negative 6 times 5. That's negative 30. I don't care if it doesn't look like it's negative 30. It's negative 30. You just label it. This scale could be anything you want. So I guess you're just saying that you have tons of little marks in there. So it hits negative 30. So don't forget the y-intercept. It's kind of the whole point of today. And tomorrow you'll have more where they bounce off of it. Kind of like if the line had like gone boing, bounced off it like that. Or boing, bounced off it like that. But that's tomorrow. And that's all I got for you for today.